Coming up on Hot Hardware, we're talking about Global Foundries, the Big O, ATI's newest high-end graphics card, and more. Hello, welcome to Hot Hardware, where we talk about the hottest tech. I'm Aya Akhtar, along with Dave Altavilla and Marco Chiappetta. Let's get to the stories. Global Foundries had a big conference recently. If you're unfamiliar with the company like I was, they make integrated circuits for companies like AMD, Qualcomm, and more. Marco, what happened at the conference?
So it was actually the very first Global Technology Conference, or GDC. We sent our editor, Joel Hruska, and Global Foundries basically outlined, along with their partners, their plans for the future for manufacturing integrated circuits. Intel has a huge lead in manufacturing, basically versus every other semiconductor manufacturer. So it's tough for other companies to compete, in that arena. So Global Foundries has partnered with guys like Chartered and Samsung and IBM, and they're all working together. And at the conference, they outlined their plans to produce smaller, lower power chips, explained what they're going to do basically through, 2012, 2013.
So what exactly does this mean for the consumer? When are they actually going to see the byproducts of this? So 2012, 2013, we're actually going to see these smaller chips in computers, or is that when they're just going to start out, trickle out at that point, or we're going to see a huge explosion of these things?
Well, I don't think you're going to see a huge explosion. You already see the fruits of Global Foundries now because they make all of AMD's processors. So anytime you see a speed bump or what have you, it's typically because of tweaks to the architecture or through optimizations at Global Foundries, who actually makes the chips for AMD. So what you're going to see moving forward, though, is as Global Foundries and their partners make newer chips, say for cell phones or tablets, or even computers, the smaller processes will allow for lower power and generally cheaper chips, as time goes on and it gets easier to produce.
That sounds pretty interesting. Next up, Orion PC has got a Frankenstein of a beast called the Big O. It's a physical mashup of a high-end gaming PC and an Xbox 360 Slim. This sounds absolutely crazy. Dave, what do you know about the Big O, the gaming rig? Keep it clean. It's a family show.
The Big O, Nelly. Actually, it's Origin PC. And these guys are ex-Alienware engineers and management folks that started up their own custom, high-end boutique PC manufacturing company. And the Big O is it's unbelievable. It's a monstrosity of a thing. I don't know if I want to call it a monstrosity, a beast. Monstrosity sounds not nice. This is a nice looking machine. It's really over the top rig. Think of it like akin to a Lamborghini in terms of its power, capability, and price tag. It's not cheap, but it's got there's some base models that start with Core i7 930s at 4 gigahertz, but the top end model that we hope to take a look at one of these days has dual Xeon 5680 processors at 4.3 gigahertz. These are 6-core processors, 12 threads per core, 24-thread processing capability, and that's just in the CPUs. The GPUs, this thing can configure up to 4 NVIDIA GeForce GTX 480s and SLI. Oh, and to top that off, it's got an Xbox 360 Slim in the double-wide case as well, all water-cooled. It's nuts.
So do you think that its price tag's a little inflated because they put it all in one box, or is it just like the price tag is justified and it's just plus $300 for the actual Xbox?
Well, in the base configuration, it's $7,700 thereabouts. In the top end configuration that I just described, it's about $17,000. You got to remember, you've got some very expensive Intel Xeon server chips. What do those things go for a piece, Marco? The 5680s. It's only $1,500.
Almost $1,500 a piece, yeah.
Yeah. So you get $3,000 just in processors alone. You've got 4 graphics cards in this thing that go for, $500 each. I mean, you've got some serious components. And of course, there's the Xbox 360 and all the water cooling. So, and oh, by the way, you're not going to build this thing yourself. You can't build anything like this. Well, maybe you could, but you better be a real polished, knowledgeable enthusiast. 99% of the people out there can't do a DIY build like this. It's pretty amazing.
And you can actually play both systems at the same time, right?
Yeah, you can actually output off the computer to a monitor and output from the Xbox 360 to your TV, or vice versa, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, this thing can, it's a double wide case, and it can host a party full of gaming fun.
That's just madness. Now,
It's cool.
last week we covered budget graphics cards. Not this week. This week we've got a super high-end one. Behold the ATI Fire Pro V9800 graphics card. It comes with a high-end price too at $3,499. Marco, what makes this card so high-end, and are you excited about it?
So I'm excited about it from a strict technology standpoint because I'm a geek and I love to check this stuff out. So what it is, it's obviously a professional level graphics card. It's not something the gamer is going to go run out and buy. The Fire Pro line is for, creative professionals, 3D modelers, what have you. But what this card is it's basically a Radeon HD 5870 iFinity 6 edition. It's got 6 monitor outputs, but it's got 4 gigs of RAM, and it's tuned for the professional market. So guys making games and movies, what have you, it's just, an insanely high-end card.
So you think it's just about 3D modelers are going to be using this. Do you think there's any enthusiast out there right now that's thinking, I'm going to get it anyway. I'm actually going to put 2 in my machine. Do you think there's somebody out there right now who's going to do that?
Yeah. I hope not. There are crazy people out there. I'm living proof. But I don't think they would, because you can get a 2 gig iFinity 6 edition for $599, and in games it's going to outperform the Fire Pro because the drivers for the Fire Pro aren't tuned for the gaming market.
But it's so pretty.
Yes.
So pretty. Okay, you won't be putting that super high-end graphics card into the latest Zotac computers. Zotac announced mini PCs with Blu-ray drives. The design is actually quite pretty. It might even fit into your home theater rig. What do you think, Dave?
I like it, and actually, here it is right here.
Another visual
in
aid.
the palm of my hands. Yeah, nice and thin. I'd say about 2/3 the length and width of your average Blu-ray player now, and about as thin as some of the sleek thin models you see out there. So it's a nice small device with a slot load Blu-ray drive right there, and but it's it's basically it's an Atom netbook PC, if you will, innards with NVIDIA Ion graphics. So it's got the latest dual-core Atom processor clocked at 1.8 gigahertz, and it's got NVIDIA's Ion 2, for lack of better terms. They call it Next-Gen Ion, bolted onto that. So you get, perfect 1080p HD video playback, certainly off the Blu-ray drive or whatever you might be piping in there off whatever media you have. You can surf the web and do everything that you could do with a normal PC. It's got HDMI, DVI outputs. It's ready to go, and it's an all-in-one built little machine. We like it a lot. What do you think about it? I know you're sort of an HTPC snob there,
Yeah, I am a bit of an HTPC snob. I like the idea of such a pretty-looking device that would fit easily in the home theater because, I mean, you always have the partner acceptance rating. If they come in and they look at this thing and they go, this is hideous, it's not going to stay in the rig. This looks pretty. I like that it's got Blu-ray, HDMI out. I'm pretty sure it's got that. I'm kind of not impressed with the processor. I don't know why it's got an old Intel Atom. Why couldn't they cram anything else into that thing? I mean, if you're going to have a desktop machine, why not just make it a little slightly bigger and give me more power?
Yeah, well, it's actually got the latest dual-core Atom, so it's the new Intel Atom at 1.8 gigahertz. So it's got a little bit more muscle, and these are chips that just came out to the market a couple of months ago. So they're still being proven, and we'll show some benchmark numbers that show that it's actually got some pretty good capability. However, I'd sort of tend to agree with you. If I had my druthers, and I'm sure actually Zotac will have a SKU on this perhaps as well. Maybe a CULV processor, a dual-core Intel CULV processor with like a Core 2 architecture would be a little bit more horsepower. But this thing, it pretty much does it all. It's got an internal 250 gig hard drive, and we're testing it out now. We're gonna see what it does for us and let you know.
I don't know. I think a dual core Atom still sounds like the most powerful smart card you can get. That doesn't mean much to me. Okay, get me an i3, i5, i7. Get something in this thing that can handle a lot of stuff because I'm going to cripple this machine. Marco, you gonna get this thing?
I probably wouldn't. I would love to, but I tend to build myself home theater PCs. I set them on a shelf and then I never hook them up. I'm just happy with my cable provider. I know that's very ungeek of me, but the DVR and the on-demand just works for me for now.
You've lost all credibility right now.
Dude,
I know.
yeah.
It's true. It's very true.
Hey, by the way, Marco and I, speaking of NVIDIA and the Ion chip there, Marco and I saw something in New York this week that was pretty impressive for Team Green. We saw a major, and we can't talk too many details about this, but we saw a major design win for NVIDIA's Tegra 2 in tablet form. It's their low power processor can compete with it's basically it's an ARM core with integrated NVIDIA graphics to compete with Apple's like A4 chip in the iPad. Major design win with a major brand name label coming up. Looks like maybe end of the year, and the tablet looks pretty hot.
I think I know what you're talking about. I mean, I'm not going to tell the audience what we're talking about, but you'll see it later on. Dave, do you happen to have an SSD laying around that you want to talk about?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Interestingly enough, I do, and it's a little early to talk about it. We've got an engineering sample in of the OCZ IBIS drive. It has a new interface on it. It's a serial interface called HSDL, or High Speed Data Link. And looks a little bit like a SAS cable, serial ATA cable, but it's not. It's proprietary interface over a standard industry SAS connector, and promises 750 megabytes a second worth of read-write performance. I mean, like no joke kind of performance. A little bit early. We're still playing with drivers and working on it, and it's technically, performance-wise, it's under NDA and for the next couple of weeks, but we are having fun with some storage, yes.
Sounds cool. So that means we'll have something cool at HotHardware.com pretty soon. It's giveaway time. Marco, tell the people what they can win and how.
Yes, so we are in the final days of the Lazy Days of Summer sweepstakes. We partnered up with MSI to give away a couple of GeForce GTX 460 graphics cards and a really nice X58-based motherboard. And 10 runners-up are going to win copies of Metro 2033, a very cool game.
And I think Hot Hardware is all over the web. Dave, where is Hot Hardware? I think it's on Twitter, Facebook, Dig. Where can people find this?
Facebook/Hot Hardware, Twitter/Hot Hardware, Dig/Hot Hardware. Yeah, we're kind of like the scourge. We're everywhere, and you can't get rid of us.
I look at it as you can find us everywhere. I wouldn't look at it as a scourge. We want people to go to these sites.
We're a virus.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
We're more like
rays of sunshine.
That's exactly. Like rays of sunshine, you can find us all over the internet. That does it for this episode of Hot Hardware. You can find everything we talked about and more at hothardware.com or Twitter or Dig or Facebook. Thanks, Dave and Marco. I'm Aya Zakhtar, and thanks for watching.